Hello, we're going to talk about what it is to be a human athlete. It's something I reference often. I think that form of training or that mentality and concept of who we are all human athletes. I'm going to cover a few topics here. It's going to review a little bit more in depth what it means to be a human athlete, what I mean when I talk about that, training functionally, how movement is medicine, some of the principles behind that when we go into some of the programming or training philosophies, why they're important, where they come from, and why every human athlete needs a foundation, and really what that means as a foundation. Because we're going to go through life and things are going to happen like injuries, illnesses, accidents, and sometimes life's going to present itself and you can either be a victim or a survivor, and a lot of that's also mentality shift. So um, being a human athlete, a lot of that is also being mentally strong and capable. There's going to be later videos that we have in a series kind of discussing the mindset, but life is the survival sport. It is the ultimate sport, and we are all athletes in life. We're all having physical tasks, mental tasks, challenges that present itself. And a lot of these concepts come from being a former special operations soldier with multiple deployments, and how my physical preparation and readiness helped me survive combat, sport, training professional athletes. And as you can be mentally resilient, you look at some of the struggles, challenges, loss as valuable lessons learned. And you get to take those with you to how to better prepare, how to better train. And going into training and training functionally, you have to think about as when you're training functionally, um, you're training for life. You're not training just to look good. That the intent isn't just to look good with your clothes off or look feel really jacked. That's a byproduct of being physically prepared. And depending on your tasks as that human athlete, preparation may look a little differently. If you have an outdoor job, an indoor job, if you're managing a lot of kids or managing a business, if you're traveling, if you also like to compete in activities, or you're just wanting to be prepared for the day to day. You have grandkids, you want to pick your grandkids up. You want to be able to go and out have time to play, be outside and play. And if you're training functionally, you're going to have the ability to just do the tasks of life, not just the ones you want to do, but there's going to be challenges you're not planning for. The sidewalk could be cracked. It could be raining outside and you're needing to run across the street and jump over a puddle or go up a curb. There may be a lot of flights of stairs because the elevator's out. I mentioned kids. Kids grow, they get bigger, they get heavier. And you also want to have the ability to throw with them, swing, to catch, to play, and to teach them. And if you're not functionally prepared to do life, bad things may present itself. You may be going down or past a dark alley and a bunch of bad guys may want your wallet, may want to try to create you to be a victim of circumstance. And depending on how you're training, one, your posture and your presence of readiness, that can be a deterrent where evil's not wanting to knock at your door, that you're able to protect and defend what's around you solely based on your training, your presence, and readiness to bring the fight to the enemy. So your training and how that is a functional aspect of you as a human, it's also going to help what's in between the ears. It's going to help you look and navigate life and how you need to continue to train, how you need to continue to lean into different areas to build habits, to lean into areas of weakness rather than avoidance. And so some of those may allow you to, uh, one, cure some anxiety. It also is going to help with some depression. It's going to help with some of the struggles we deal with mentally when you're actually training and preparing for the unknown ahead. Life. It's the ultimate survival sport. and you don't quit until you die. And that's a philosophy concept here at Apex Performance Solutions, and us being that human athlete. When you quit, it's when your heart quits breathing. That is when you die. When you have no more breath, no more life, no more fight. You may reach a limitation in your training. In training functionally, when it means training for life, you have to push limits. Not just the set is for 12 or the distance is a mile. How much juice are you squeezing out of your training? How far are you pressing your training with with the mental intent of not injury? But you're going to have to push limitations so you are a functional, capable human. And so transitioning to movement as medicine, a lot of that I talked about regarding just the brain and how the brain makes you want to kind of just not train, not be disciplined, lean into comfort. With all the comfort we have around us, that the concept of movement as medicine, that's going to fuel the mind to be active. That's going to fuel the body to recover. If you're not moving, the body's not going to move. It's not going to want to function. And so having internal external rotation in your movement is going to allow you to move the arms, move the shoulders, move the neck, move the body. And so a lot of the recovery and where the movement in medicine came from, I medically retired from the military based on injuries, back injuries, shoulder, neck, knees, brain injury. And due to that, I required either surgeries, a lot of rehab, and changing my job. Those are things that I wasn't in agreement with the military, but I did everything I wanted to and then some. I worked with a lot of great warriors and men, and I have a lot of T-shirts from my experience that I'm thankful for. But those injuries also taught me the importance of movement. And if I quit moving, then my body's not going to move. And if I fight that, I force that, then it's going to be medicine for recovery, for repair, for the mind, not just the body, but how the mind and the body are connected with our gut health, the brain health, how the neurological connections in the nerves are connected right to our gut. That if we're not connecting that together, so if we're not moving and our body is sedentary, then we are going to create issues, inflammation. Um, what we're eating and consuming isn't getting burned as fuel, it's getting stored as fuel. And so there's a big concept with the movement as medicine and what we need to do as humans to move the body and how that's medicine, not just for the body and recovery, but the brain. And some of this is going to roll into the principles that I have outlined just below: the mobility, your strength, your endurance, and then also the ability to repair and recover. So, what is mobility? I'm not a giant, I'm under 6 foot. And if I had limited range of motion mobility, that's going to shorten my reach and what I'm capable of doing. In the opposite retrospect, you take somebody that is of 6 foot or above and they have limited mobility. Myself being shorter, if I have increased mobility, range of motion, better movement patterns, I may be able to outperform those that are bigger, stronger, faster, solely based on mobility and range of motion. Mobility and range of motion is also going to help us when we have injuries we need to heal. We fall down and our arm or our torso or our neck and body is able to move. That's a deterrent for us to get injured. It's also going to allow us to move well and move properly. When we have a pushing movement, we're going to internally rotate. Well, if we have shoulder issues and it's hard to internally rotate, it's not going to be a strong, solid, safe push whenever we're doing a task in life or when we're actually training. And so before you train and you work on your strength, you need to ensure your mobility can facilitate that range of motion and that you can move well. And so your mobility is solely just that range of motion and to move without pain. How that's going to allow you to sleep, how that's going to help you move, how that's going to allow you to do a movement pattern. If that's a swing, a run, a jump, a press, a pull, any human functional athletic movement or a task like picking up your kid, if you can't reach down and touch your toes or move around, life's going to be pretty difficult. And rolling into the strength aspect, if you're not strong enough for some of the tasks in front of you, if you can't pull yourself up over that wall when dogs are chasing you, bad guys are chasing you, if you're getting shot at, hope that never happens to you. But if you have to break contact and roll away, which is a battle drill, then you may be a victim based on you not being strong enough. Are you strong enough to change a tire? Are you strong enough to help with some of the DIY projects around the house, or just simply pick up kids, throw something, move something? And strength as a man, as a dad, that's one of the key pillars on what do you look like? What do you present? And as the bad guy looking at you as you're walking with your family, that's a tough target. That having strength, it's going to show in your mentality, your resilience, your posture, your body position, how you move. Strength is something that you can also lean into, but if you don't have the mobility, then it's going to be hard for you to get really strong and stable in your core, in your back, your midline, your neck, your pressing, just your entire structure as a whole. And rolling into endurance. Some of you can't run to your mailbox and back without needing a big break. Can you run a mile? If you had if you were out on a vacation and you're in the back roads and you lose cell service and you get in a car accident, or your ball joint blows out, your tire blows out, something happens and you get in an accident and your loved one's hurt and you have to run to cell phone service, are you able to run a mile? Can you run 3 miles? Can you run 5? Can you even walk that far? And at what pace? And how good are you going to be once you get there? That also may be carrying a loved one, dragging a loved one. There's a lot of reasons why endurance in the endurance race of life, and why you need to lean into that and make sure that you have the ability to navigate whatever's in front of you, whatever the hurdle is you need to jump, that you can do that and not just accomplish that of, hey, I executed A, B, and C. Hey, the boat started to sink, or I got thrown overboard, or I needed to swim and I'm not as I can't really swim across that lake like I used to, or I'm really limited on what I can do because I don't have the endurance. You may require that. And life will be way easier and less difficult if you have that tool in your bag. And to cap all of this off, again, recovery. After you do any task in life, if you're hunting and going through the mountains, are you limited on your hunting plan because you're not able to move or recover? How bad are you sweating? You're sweating and you're sent so bad that you're not going to see an animal around you. And so you have to look at all these three, the mobility, strength, and endurance, but can you recover? How good are you once you get there? We on deployments overseas, a lot of times, most of the time, at nighttime, we were dropped off via helicopter. And we would have to walk miles at night in the elements of darkness through the mountains with 50 dudes carrying a lot of gear, sometimes 100 pounds plus of gear. And then we would get to the job. Then we would get to the target compound, the building, the blocking position, the release point. And then how good were we once we got there? Now we're ready to do our job. Before it was just movement to the job. And so you, as that human athlete, there's going to be tasks. I'm not saying you're going to go out at night and find bad guys. However, if you are prepared as a human athlete and you have all these principles locked in, life's going to be way easier for you. Life's going to have challenges that throw themselves at you, and mentally you're going to have confidence you can execute that task because you're prepared. And so the last point is why every human athlete needs a foundation. Why is any of this important? And I think a lot of it is, self-explanatory in what I kind of covered. But let's say you get injured, you get into an accident. what is your baseline level of you not doing anything for a few months? If you took 6 months off because of a knee injury, a shoulder injury, whatever the incident happened, you get sick. A lot of people today are sick and unhealthy. What is your foundation when you lean into it, and where are you starting from? Where are you starting at right now? What is your baseline foundation of test? Where there's not a perfect physical fitness test, but when life throws you a struggle, a challenge, a curveball, what is your baseline? How can you navigate that? What where is a hole in your training? Where are you weak at in your foundation? And in that foundation, when it's on a house, if you have a crack in that foundation, do you avoid it? Do you build another one? Do you focus on other things? You go right to that crack. So look at your own cracks and your foundation. There's balance, there's speed, there's coordination, there's agility, there's endurance, there's strength, there's power, there's explosiveness within some of your training. Can you sprint? Or are you limited? When's the last time you actually sprinted? It's the last time you actually ran uphill. And so when it comes to your foundations, what is your limitations? What are your capabilities? And have you ever asked yourself, what are you capable of? What have you pushed yourself to? And that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to improve your foundation, and you're going to work on being a better human athlete in this course. Thanks for the time. Let me know what you think below. Take care.